Welcome to the Hip Senior Podcast Book Edition, where we bring the world of senior citizen literature to your fingertips. We're your one-stop source for discovering the latest and greatest books catering to seniors, along with the exclusive interviews with their talented authors. From health and wellness to retirement, caregiving, hobbies, personal growth, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and join us as we dive into the fascinating world of senior citizen literature. Let's get started. Today we have Lori, Aden, and Sheila Parsley with us. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. You wrote the book, I Remember Me.
Yes,
and I need to know what this book is about. Please.
So basically, it's the journey of what our family went through while we were taking care of my mom, who had Alzheimer's. Long story short, try to make this as quick as possible. She was out in California, and we noticed the dementia kicking in because she was repeating her questions over and over again. When we learned she got lost driving home from the nail salon one day, that's when we knew, okay, it's time to get mom home. So we brought her home to live with us, my husband and me. And while going through this journey, I was like on Facebook, just chronicling, like, for my family, for Sheila and my uncle, just from different family members, just things that were happening. Okay, this is what's going on with mom now, without hurting her dignity or making fun of it. Here's what I'm learning. And as I was going through it, started calling it the Mom Chronicles. And it basically chronicled everything we were going through, things I was learning about Alzheimer's. And people were saying, hey, you need to write a book. I said, we need to wait till the journey's over before I even think about that. I Remember Me, the title came from something that happened one day. We were driving home from a doctor's appointment, and I was making all kinds of mistakes with this. I was asking her, do you remember? You're not supposed to do that with someone with Alzheimer's because they don't remember. And I won't go into the gist of the whole story, but when I was saying this over and over again, she goes, I remember me. So that's what just made this whole book come together. Once mom passed away, that's the title it needed to be. And we have our website called irememberme.life.
Okay, so what is the bulk of if someone's reading the book, what are they getting out of this book? What are they reading as they go along with this book?
So what I decided to do, people were recommending different books to me, and some of them were just so hard to read, just too much medical information. It was hard to read. So with this book, what I decided to do, it's the chronicles, the different posts along the way, so they can see her story. It's got photos of her. But also I broke it into the 7 stages. So most things are the beginning, middle, and late stage. I went with what helped me through the journey was the 7 stages by Dr. Barry Reisberg. That's what helped me. And so I broke the book into 7 stages. So at the beginning of each stage, I was like, okay, here's what to expect. Then I put in the post that we experienced with mom during that section. I did QR codes of videos of her so people could see how she was acting, things she was doing. And then things that I learned afterwards, I put in there as well. And at the end of every chapter are the tips and tricks of how to deal with somebody in that stage. So it's in a very easy to read format. You fall in love with my mom. I've heard that over and over again, of how they just love my mom after reading the stories of her. But they're learning, oh my goodness, all the different paperwork you need to have ready. How do you help someone take a shower? There's just so much to Alzheimer's, and that's what the book is intended to do. It's a very easy read.
I think a lot of people that become caregivers, especially the family members, haven't had that experience. Maybe they've had children and stuff like that, but giving a child a bath is much different than bathing an adult.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure that information in there is very valuable to a lot of people.
Yeah, there's just so much to it. And what works for one doesn't work for another. So we have just as many different ideas as possible. I can tell you that Jenny Knutson from the Memory Care Center that mom was at, she gave me tons of ideas and allowed me to share. And then I pulled from very reputable resources like WebMD and Alzheimer's.net and Alzheimer's.org. So very reputable resources to make sure I was covering my bases correctly.
Okay. So Sheila, you helped participate in this book somewhat also?
Yes, I was the backup. I don't live near Lori, so I would go every 2 weeks, weekends, and help take care of mom that weekend, give Lori some me time, I guess you can say, so she can get out
Respite.
of the
Yeah.
house, yeah, and do whatever she needed to do, or just have a date night. Because as a full-time caregiver, you're on 24/7, and so you need to have a little bit of me time given. So that's what I would do every 2 weekends. I'd go and take care of mom that weekend, and do what I could to alleviate that little bit of stress that Lori usually deals with, to give her some respite, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And then I would have my own little posts when I would go with mom that I would put into the chronicles, I guess you can say, so that Lori would see what I dealt with that particular day or weekend. So that was how I helped out.
It's important to have backup, isn't it?
Yes, very much. It's You can get so drained. And I hear from a lot of different caregivers, because I work in the medical or psych field, and they're like, my family won't help me. I am by myself. And I can totally understand that, where they're coming from on that side. And so it is very important for family members or friends to, hey, can we come watch your mom or your dad and let you go to the grocery store without worrying, or go to a movie just to get out of the house for a few moments. It is very important to help those caregivers out.
Yeah.
It helped me get time with my mom during that time frame, but it also helped Lori, and that's important to me.
I was just speaking with another caregiver advocate the other day who was talking about boundaries and creating them and stuff like that. And it's really important to be able to create those boundaries and to delegate and ask for help when you need it, instead of just saying, letting other family members like, I'm distant. I'm distant from my mom. I still participate in what's going on with my mom and my dad, even from 1,200 miles away. So hopefully other people will read your book, hear your story, and learn a lot, as far as maybe you have some ideas that aren't working for them and come up with some solutions thanks to your book. So, guys, what do you hope that when the reader puts this book down, if they only had one thought about your book, what do you hope that book would be, or that thought would be?
Yeah, it to me, I would think it's just how much help and ideas that they'll have on how to deal with it. I had a lady do a review of it, and she said within the first chapter, she knew exactly what she was about to go through, what was wrong. She knew that first chapter was enough for her to know that this book was going to help her. It's like I said, it's an easy read. It's gives so many different ideas on how to help in different the whole all 7 stages. And again, you fall in love with my mom, and you learn a lot about Alzheimer's.
Talk about leaving a legacy when your children want
Yes,
the world to fall in love with you after you're gone.
exactly.
You guys must
Exactly.
have had a very special relationship.
We did. We did.
Lori and Sheila, thank you so much for telling us about I Remember Me. And guys, go purchase the book. It just sounds like everybody needs to read this regardless. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
All right. Bye bye.